Hello everybody. Tonight I would like to tell you some talk of audience. Number one. First, the teacher welcomed his student to the introduction to economists. Then he said that textbooks for the school were available at the university bookstore. After that, he told his students the flights were a bit steep, but he thought they would find it was well worth it. Next, the teacher also asked his students to bring their book to the following class. Finally, the teacher said there would be two exams, a midterm and a final. In addition to which, they would try several
Number two.
research papers. First, the speaker told her employees that they needed to be aware of their return policy. Then she asked them not to accept any return from customers without a dated receipt. Next, she also asked them to make sure all the return items were in good condition before accepting them. At last, he told them to check the item carefully, as they had problem in the past with customers who returning damaged goods. In addition, she told them to remember the store issued store credits, not cash. Finally, she asked them to let her know if they received complaints.
Number three.
Policy. First, the woman introduced her office. Then she told the patient if that were an emergency, they should head up and call an ambulance. If they would like to make an appointment or ask for medical advice, they should come back during their regular office hours. After that, they also said they opened from 10 to 6 Monday through Friday and from 9 to 10 on the first Saturday of each month. Finally, she asked the patient to make an appointment because they didn't accept.
Number four.
First, the man asked all the staff to remind the passenger that they would be landing shortly. Then they asked them to check to make sure all the seat belts were fastened and asked the passenger to turn off all cell phone and recording device. Next, he asked them to find out if there were anyone with small children requiring extra assistance or if anyone needed help get into a
Number five.
the report said that was a public service announcement. He then said because of the fraud, government officials were acting on the city resident to conserve water. He said the residents were asked not to fill their swimming pool or water their garden until further notice. After that, he said the government were asking the residents to do this on a voluntary basis then. However, he said if the situation becomes served, it was possible that fines would be imposed. Finally, he asked the audience to stay tuned to his radio for all the latest updates. Number 6. First, the woman thanked people for calling the city hotline. She then introduced that it was the information source for all the city events. Next, she said for theater schedule and ticket orders, press 1. And then she said for the museum information, including information on special exhibits, the lecture series at the Art Museum and the foreign film series at the History Museum, press 2. After that, if the audience needed to hear about a coming sport event at the city stadium, they were requested to press 3. Finally, she told people to stay on the line if they needed to speak to an. Number 7. First, the tour guide told the visitors that the History Museum was their last stop that day, and he then said they would spend 2 hours there. After that, he introduced that were record tour were available at the front desk for a small fee. Next, he said he had free information brought about the permanent exhibits for anyone who was interested. The visitor were requested to return to but no later 5:30. Finally, the man said the bus would take them to their hotel where they would enjoy dinner and have an evening program.
Number
8. First, the woman said that they had heavy traffic that morning because of a car breakdown on Route 1 near the airport. Next, she asked the commuter to avoid Route 1 if at all possible. In addition, she said road construction was slowing traffic over the Slade Bridge. Then they recommend commute to be prepared for a long snow driver to work that morning. Finally, they recommend people to take the
Number 9.
subway. First, the woman wondered if the audience company were looking to hire skilled computer technicians. She then asked if the audience wanted to hire technicians who had been trained with state-of-the-art equipment. After that, she introduced that graduates of the Computer Technician Institute were highly trained and skilled technicians able to handle on the routine technician problems. Finally, she said all the institute graduates were eligible to become
Number 10.
computer
First,
technicians. The man said that buying a house could be confusing, especially in that state market. Then he told them the first step was obtaining a loan from the bank. Next, he said they need to apply a home mortgage. They would need to get the necessary paperwork from a bank official. He finally told that they had to have proof of their income and financial assets because that would help the official determine how large the loans they were qualified for.